Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Second Look Sports Show. It has been a good while since all three of us have been on together. I'm super pumped to chat about the world of sports, how the holidays went. My name is Alex Mandarino. Got Justin Arenburg, got Brandon Brown with us today. And like I said, it's been a minute. Pumped to be with you guys. We caught up very briefly before jumping on, but just curious how everyone's holidays went. We don't have to go into full detail. I know we were busy, but let's see how we all are, man. Justin, how Christmas, New Year's go? Anything exciting? What's going on your end?
Man, New Year's Day was like the first time that I worked on New Year's Day. New Year's Eve and New Year's Day. Had to work
Mm-hmm.
the back to back, because of what was it? Oh yeah, the Canada Olympic roster being
Mm,
announced. So that was pretty exciting. Had to man the stream, had to do all that stuff, all that fun stuff for Sportsnet. But other than that, it was a lot of time with my girlfriend's family. And I didn't travel back to Nova Scotia for the first
okay.
time. So was just in Ontario the full time. It was a lot of fun, but a lot of work going on throughout the holidays. So didn't really like have the normal, I guess, week break that a lot of people have.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like that's just the world of sports, and we just like have to accept that now that we're diving head first. But that's awesome. Brandon, how about yourself, my friend? How did it go? Holidays, anything you want to get into right now?
No, holidays were really good. It felt like while I did have a little bit of time off, which was nice, not a crazy amount, but like Justin had to work on New Year's Eve at least, and then was working sporadically throughout. I was filling in on the fan hockey show
Mm-hmm.
while JD was off, so it was nice to kind of do some different stuff. But yeah, it was good holidays. If I was gonna say is like it kind of felt like it wasn't like while there was holidays, holiday season, it sports and everything that was going on, work, it just kind of kept on going. Like there was no real like break for anything. You had stuff going on every night, whether it was Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, New Year's Day. There's great stuff going on all the time. So it kind of felt like the calendar just rolled on, and now we're through and we're back into the grind of it all. So it was a great time, a little different time, but it's great to be back in kind of the normal swing of things. And now we're heading towards, the now we're in the playoffs football. Spring's
Yeah.
coming, and that's going to lead to everything else. So it's just a great time in general, as always, after the new year.
Yeah, I would agree. I think it's I was talking to a colleague at TSN about, obviously, I think we all know that October is probably the best time of year when it comes to sports because you have the equinox, you have everything pretty much going or ending at the same time. But this is an underrated time of year if you're into all types of sports. Because, yeah, you have this year in particular, the roster announcements for the Olympics. You also just have NHL and NBA coverage. You have NFL, you have college football. There's so much, and really you have the offseason for the MLB, which sometimes can be slow, and of late it hasn't
Yeah.
been as exciting unless you're, I guess, a Toronto Blue Jays fan. But it's probably going to start heating up in the next week or two. We just talked about this off air. I feel like we're rounding into form. There's going to be so much to talk about over the coming weeks.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like it's underrated. This is like a good part of the year, and then as soon as like right after the Super Bowl is usually the part of the year where it absolutely sucks between after Super Bowl weekend and March Madness. Other than the trade deadline, which is like the first week of March, so I guess
Yeah.
right after the Super Bowl till the first week of March. But this season we don't have that because we
no,
have the Olympics. So it is going to be a full calendar year until June, the end of June when the NHL free agency and NBA free agency is done. That the sports calendar will not rest, and a lot of boyfriends will probably be not hanging around with their girlfriends on date nights, and that's unfortunate.
Yeah. Yeah. You guys, Valentine's Day, you got to make sure that that is free as best as possible. You got
Yeah,
to promise that early.
yeah,
Otherwise, you're in trouble. And then
yeah.
it just kind of goes downhill once the baseball season starts. You got to find a pocket.
Find a
But
pocket, yeah, because you're not gonna have a lot of time, if you're a diehard sports fan.
no, no, absolutely not. We can jump into some of the topics that we wanted to get into. Brandon, you threw together a great lineup. And I think the biggest conversation that needs to be had, at least looking ahead, is the NFL playoffs. We have wild card weekend this Saturday. If you're listening to this, it is Friday, Jan 9th. And I also just want to say, I think this is the best football weekend of the year. You have 6
Yeah,
games ongoing, right?
yeah.
Including obviously the Monday night, but it's the busiest. It's probably well, at this point, it has the most implications, but it also has just the right amount of juice to it. Do you feel like Super Bowl weekend's better? Like, is conference champion? Like, what do you guys think? Is this probably number one, or where are we at?
No, this has to be number 1 right now because you also have the college football playoff games that go tonight and tomorrow night, I
Mhm.
believe, or sorry, Thursday night and tonight, I believe. So it goes Thursday, college football playoff semifinal, Friday, college football playoff semifinal, 3 standalone games on Saturday, and then 3 on Sunday, I believe, or no, 2 on Sunday, I think, and
Mm.
then it's 1 on Monday evening. So it's or maybe it's 2 on Saturday, I forget.
2
It's either
Saturday, 3
Two
Sunday.
2
Saturday
2
exactly.
Saturday,
Amanda's
3
on it.
Sunday. And
Yeah.
then but they're all standalone games, and that's the
Mhm.
Yeah.
best part because you get to focus on each standalone game instead of having to flip through the TV or watch Red Zone to only watch the highlights. It's you get to watch every single snap of every single playoff game. And these matchups are really good. Like, I'm intrigued by every single one of these matchups. Like, you know what? Like, sometimes you would look at the Jacksonville Jaguars and say, I'm not really interested in watching their matchup. Well, they're playing Josh Allen and the Buffalo Bills, and not to
Mhm.
mention the Jacksonville Jaguars have won 8 games in a row coming into the playoffs. Like, it is very, very impressive what they've done, and it makes for a great matchup. Also, the Houston Texans, the best defense, in my opinion, in the NFL. Maybe you can have the debate with Seattle. That's probably the only other option, in my opinion. But they're taking on Pittsburgh, and usually that team would not be a team that you would want to say, oh, I really want to watch this game because it's, Pittsburgh. They don't really do much. But Aaron Rodgers, 41, I think he's 41 or 42 years old now, and he's going up against probably the best defense he's going to see in the AFC. And if he gets through that, well, then who knows if the Steelers can maybe go to the Super Bowl? Like, it's that exciting of a run. And yeah, it's the most wide open I think the NFL playoffs have been in a very, very long time.
Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, you guys are right. I think since the NFL expanded its playoffs, it's been, I think, the wild card weekend or the super wild card weekend, as they kind of
Yeah.
rebranded after that, has been, I think, become that weekend where you can sit down and watch, like Justin said, every game, every snap, and just enjoy the first round of the playoffs. I think the divisional round you typically get to get better games, but I think this year, I mean, you're getting some really good ones too. So I mean, while we all kind of expect the Panthers maybe to be out of it, they've played some good football this year,
They
and they
have.
deserve to be in that spot. So I think you're typically seeing kind of that culmination of the regular season and going into that first round of the playoffs. That's where the intensity is changing. Everything is kind of growing into what the playoffs will be, and I think that's why. Um, wild card weekend and the chaos that can come from it too, is probably the best weekend in football. But I'm excited, Justin, like you said, about some of these games. I mean, the Denver Broncos, you can't really count out their defense just
Yeah, you
before.
can't count out their defense as well. Sure.
But I do think that you're right. Like the Texans game is going to be really interesting. I think that the Packers and Bears game is going to be one of the more
Yeah.
uh, back and forth and kind of one of those games where I think you're going to have people on both sides of the ledger thinking that they're going to win. And that's kind of the same with this Buffalo Jacksonville game. I think you're right,
Yeah.
Justin. The Jags are very underrated. I think their defense is better than people think, and their
Yeah.
offense can move the ball too. And yet when you factor in the addition of Jacoby Myers, they've really been humming, like you said, 8 straight wins, and it'll be tough for the Bills to kind of slow them down and eventually take them out at home. So it's going to be crazy to see what happens, and I'm just excited to for it all to get started on Saturday. So it's going to be great to see.
Yeah,
And
just go ahead,
and the
Justin.
fact that the Jacksonville Jaguars, when you think about who they acquired at the trade deadline, Jacoby Myers, that could have been a Buffalo Bill as well. Like
For sure.
the fact that they didn't go get a wide receiver, knowing that they needed, like, they didn't have a stud wide receiver room, and to know that, like, he was available, and now he's in Jacksonville, the team that you're gonna face, it's kind of exciting to me.
Definitely. It's gonna be a wild weekend for a number of reasons. Buffalo's probably the biggest story, just in that like the Giants that have basically taken them down every year are not there, and that's can be used as pressure. It could be used as an excuse. That's no longer an excuse, but now they have pretty much a wide open slate in front of them. And I honestly think that Josh Allen, regardless of what his wide receiver corp looks like, I think he could just do it all. I think he can just you have the leading rusher and James Cook behind you. Josh Allen can rush if necessary. Obviously, it's not everyone's favorite to see him running down the field thinking this guy's going to get destroyed if he's not careful, especially with an underrated defense, as you
Yeah.
suggest, Brandon. But the AFC is probably as wide open as it's going to be. Like, even teams at the top, it's the first year Denver can sort of become a powerhouse in the number one seed. Mike Vrabel took the Pats, your Pats, Justin, to the two seed.
Yeah.
And yes, they probably are going to have their way with the Chargers, in my personal opinion, as a fan. But who knows? Like,
Wow.
who knows
There's
who
no
is going
defense
to
from
take
you?
it?
You're just gonna, like, just bend over to it? Like, what?
I think from a Chargers perspective, like Justin Herbert he's played fairly hurt all year in different capacities and has still
Okay, yeah,
done
yeah.
what he's done, right?
Yeah.
But the problem is there's no one blocking for him. Like, they
They don't
have
have
a lot of
Slater.
backups, no
They don't
Slater,
have
uh,
all
Joe
like,
All's
it's
not there. It's just been like backups. It's not the best front line for him. And so if
yeah.
any pressure is put on him, I'm concerned. And plus, obviously, this is a year where everyone's like, this is kind of the year for Herbert to prove he's actually a good quarterback in the postseason. He's had two pretty back to back brutal playoff games, four
Yeah,
interceptions last
yeah,
year.
yep, yeah.
So the time is now. So I don't
2
know.
of
I'm
the
not confident.
biggest, like, or most embarrassing playoff losses in recent history is because of the
Yeah.
Chargers.
I would definitely say the Jacksonville one a few years back is more concerning. Like, the Texans defense this year was not much different than last year, and we saw what happened with that defense in LA. So I think it kind of mitigates the fact that, like, look how good this Texans defense is. But nonetheless, it was bad. We
Yeah.
didn't talk much about the NFC per se, but there's that NFC West division that can very well just win the Super Bowl if one of them
Oh,
makes
yeah.
it that far. And like that's all there is to it. It's a dominant division and everyone else is kind of playing catch up, I think.
Yeah, I think especially when you think about how far the 49ers have come this year. It feels like at the beginning of the year, people, thought they would be a playoff team, but they just kind of went under the radar this entire year. And now they're up against the champs, in the first round. And I've seen quite a few people actually picking them over the Eagles, and that's not a
Mm,
crazy take at this point. I think
No.
if they're able to run the ball well, Purdy, he's had some stinkers this year, but he can still, sling it out pretty well. And then their defense is just as good, I think, as what a lot of people think. Their linebackers right now are really hurt. That's going to be an issue. But I think
Yeah.
if they're able to score and run the ball, the Eagles, they're kind of hit and miss too. So I mean, that's going to be one of the more interesting games I think on Sunday for sure.
Yeah, like, the thing that you just said there, which is, like, important to realize, the Niners defense is good, but they have no pass rush. Like, they can't generate any pass rush, and that's because Fred Warner's not in the game, Nick Bosa's not in the game. If those 2 players are out there and they're healthy, they're fully healthy right now, San Fran's probably the Super Bowl favorite. Like, to be completely honest with you, to think of what they've done with all the injuries they've had this season and still
almost had the
go, I
one
think
seed,
12,
man.
yeah, almost have the 1 seed. I think they went 12-5 is their record in the regular season. To still do that is remarkable, and we're not talking about it enough. And Kyle Shanahan might even be the coach of the year because of what he's done with all the injuries, and despite that, turn out this impressive record.
Hmm.
It's really just about, in my opinion, also the fact that the Eagles, while they might be going in the playoffs without a good offense, their defense is one of the best in the league as well. It's not the best in the league, but is scary good. And that's the reason that they're able to stick around in ball games they have no business sticking around in, because their offense is stinking up the joint.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, if you think about the Rams too in that division, they were kind of it felt like somewhere in the middle of the season, Stafford became like the MVP favorite. It felt like they were the favorite to win the division and maybe represent the NFC in the Super Bowl. But it feels like that's kind of leveled out a little bit. Like I feel like, they lost to the Panthers earlier, in the second half of the season. They've been in some games where teams that are clearly below them have kind of stuck around, and they've kind of just it feels like tailed off in terms of their dominance. So I think if they can get off to a hot start here in the first round against those same Panthers, they're going to probably be ready to go on a heater. But the same thing with them concerns me. The same thing that happened last year is that they got to go on the road everywhere they go, pretty much,
Yeah.
and it's going to be a problem if they got to go to Philly, if they got to go to Chicago, Green Bay, any of these teams, Seattle. Like I don't really know if I trust Stafford and that offense kind of in diverse or inclement weather, I guess. So that's kind of the scary thing for them if I'm an LA Rams fan. But I still think if they kind of get the right path, they could easily be one of the teams that goes through.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Like I mean it depends on also Devontae Adams' health as well.
Yep.
Him and Puka Nakua. Uh Puka's just dominating the game, man. Like it's just crazy to see what he's
Yeah.
been
Catches
able to do.
everything.
Yeah.
I would assume it's gonna be the easiest matchup in the first round would be taking the LA Rams to get past the Carolina Panthers. And then from there we'll see what happens. I wouldn't be shocked, I'll put it to you this way, if they ended up making the Super Bowl. Like, I just wouldn't be shocked
Yeah.
if they ended up making the Super Bowl. I think it's very likely that a matchup between Seattle and LA could be the NFC Championship game. And we saw what happened last time the two teams met on Thursday evening. It's it's crazy to think what possibilities are out there. But yeah,
Yeah. There's not many matchups I feel like in the NFC that if you told me that was an NFC Championship game outside of the Panthers being involved,
Yeah.
maybe I probably would say any team
yeah.
could be there, right? Like
Like,
it's
that's how wide open this thing
yeah,
is.
yeah,
Like,
and maybe
it's
it's the same in the AFC
crazy.
as well. Like we can go through that too, but
Yeah.
it feels like pretty much any team, except maybe sorry, Mando, maybe your Chargers. I think just the state of where the
No,
team
I
is,
would even no,
injuries
I
and
would
everything.
even, like,
I would probably be
unless
surprised if I saw them in the AFC Championship this year, not because they don't
yeah.
have the talent, but because of everything we've already talked about in terms of the injuries and just kind of how they're going into the playoffs right now. So
Yeah.
Like, the Steelers would be the other team to me that probably aren't going to make the AFC Championship game, but like I said, if they go and beat the Texans, who's to say they don't go on a run? Like,
yeah,
they
yeah.
could get hot.
And similar to Houston, their defense might be able to carry them,
Yeah.
a certain amount of way through the playoffs too. So you can't count it out. But you're right. Like it's true. Like this year, it feels like what do we need? Two or three teams that maybe would be a surprise. So that leaves a
Yeah.
ton of other teams that could be a potential matchup in the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I was just looking it up like for Carolina specifically because we talked about how they're likely the easiest like one and done team in this playoffs. They're the fifth team to make the playoffs with a losing record. And the last time it happened was 2022, also an NFC South champion, which
Yeah,
was
not
the Tampa Bay
surprising.
Buccaneers.
Not
Yeah,
surprising. The NFC
all of
South
the
is a joke.
and
Yeah.
the
It just
Panthers
is.
also did it in 2014, man. Like so
Yeah.
this is not new
It
for this division.
feels like they're
That's
just gonna be happy to be there and just like they'll
Yeah.
give it their best. It's nice to be at home, but like yeah, like
See what Bryce Young does in a
yeah.
standalone game.
yeah.
The
And
pressure.
also, like, when you think about, like, what the Carolina Panthers have done, they deserve this spot, like, out of I know you said it earlier, Brandon, they deserve the spot. The Tampa Bay Buccaneers, they just weren't good down the stretch. Baker was
Yeah.
obviously hurt, and they just played
Yeah.
with their food too much, and I think that Carolina, at the end of the day, even though they lost the last week against, Tampa Bay, which would have been more convincing, it just they were the most deserving team out of any team in the NFC South this season, and I think they're the first team, or they're the only team I know that this year with a minus point differential to make the playoffs. And I think it's like minus like 62 or something like that. It's kind of
Yeah.
ridiculous what their point differential is this season. And it's just goes to show you how bad the NFC South is. It just really is that bad.
Yeah.
Um, I just wanted, like, before we switch up on the NFL, you guys want to talk about the schedule that like the games are on? Because
Sure.
I'm shocked by the Sunday night game. I'm shocked. I'm
Okay.
happy that the Patriots are the Sunday night game, but I was most definitely thinking the Sunday night game would be Green Bay, Chicago.
Yeah.
Like I thought for sure that would be the Sunday night game.
I
Um
think there's a couple of options that they could have put there. When when I didn't see the schedule, but when it obviously the teams themselves came out and the matchups came out, I figured and the Patriots would get Saturday afternoon, and the reason is that
Yeah,
the Chargers constantly play the afternoon Saturday
yeah,
game
yeah,
because Carolina is in the playoffs. I think that's pretty much a check mark to say this is likely going to be the worst matchup, and so we'll put it first, and everyone
yeah,
will forget about it by Monday. I'm
yeah.
more
Exactly. That's the
surprised.
thing.
Well, see, I'm more surprised, if anything, and not to switch games, but I'm a little surprised about the Sunday nighter. I thought the weird one was the Monday night matchup because it's the final game. Everyone's still really excited. And in my personal opinion, that's the second worst matchup of all six. So I was a little surprised that that was the
I
final
would put
game of
that
the
as the
weekend.
third worst, but I would
Okay.
put Patriots Chargers the second worst in terms of
Really?
what like I just don't think like it's going to be a massive game. I'm not gonna lie, I think the Patriots are gonna steamroll the Chargers,
Of
and that's
course you
why.
do.
Uh, but like I would think Bills Jags would be a Sunday night possibility, but they have that as the 1 o'clock game on Sunday, which is kind of surprising to me.
I thought the same thing because I'm a big proponent of always trying to give teams the best possible conditions to play in. So I was surprised that
Mm,
the Jags playing at home with the Bills didn't get one of the night. I thought maybe even the
Yeah,
Saturday night game, like kind of kick
yeah,
it off after,
sure,
like Alex said, like maybe that Panthers Rams game. But yeah, I think because I think that the Chargers playing in New England at 1 o'clock, I think that would be a good slot. I think that would be a
yep.
good way to
yeah,
start the Sunday. But I mean, like it is what it is. You could even argue a game in Philly could have been one of those night games. So, like
Yeah.
yeah,
because of that, because of how many great matchups we've got, like we talked about earlier, it feels like they really couldn't really do wrong. But the NFL is always going to have their kind of um, biases to the Northeast and everything like that. I think
yeah,
that's
yeah.
the only reason Monday is Pittsburgh because they're in that kind of sweet spot in the Northeast that the NFL and all the major networks love. So
Oh
it's
yeah.
one of those things that they're going to do, and until we see some of these other teams catch up in terms of how many eyes are on the TVs, it's going to be tough to see that change for a while.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say you're right. The it's mainly just like the fact if Baltimore made the playoffs, do you think, or if it was Baltimore in that spot, do you think it's still the Monday night game?
Probably not. No, probably not. I think that's like the Sunday again, maybe that one of those Sunday afternoon games, and then you have either the Bills or that Philly game maybe taking over
Yeah.
that Monday night slot. But just the way it goes. It's all about star power and it's all about markets and everybody knows there's data. I'm sure that supports what they're doing, and I'm sure the numbers are going to be astronomical. I don't know if you guys saw the regular
Oh
season
yeah.
numbers, but they were through the roof. So I mean,
Football is
it's going to be
king,
great.
man. Football
Yeah.
is king. If you
Yeah,
want to go up again,
Despite
did you guys
despite a
see?
poor Christmas showing, like they still managed to kind
Oh
of
yeah,
the
push
numbers were.
they
past it.
What was the Chiefs Cowboys game? It was like almost 60 million people
50,
or something watched
It's
it.
53 million
unbelievable,
people, the
man.
most viewed
Unbelievable.
regular season game ever.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
it's like that's just a Thanksgiving game. Like it's ridiculous the amount of numbers that they get for games. Like I know the NHL like specifically did not do their Winter Classic on January 1st because of the college football playoffs being on
Mhm.
that day now. And so they moved it to January 2nd. Now, obviously, their numbers were a little bit lower because of Canada versus who was it in that quarterfinal game? Slovakia. And they so obviously a lot of Canadians are probably watching that game instead of the Winter Classic game. But like you get why the NHL just does not want to mess with football, like in the
Yeah.
first place. Like it's just like don't even touch this. This is our thing now. And even like the crazy part about it is the NBA had probably the best slate I've ever seen them have for games on Christmas Day, and they got overshadowed by the NFL, who had the worst slate of games possible, and it still did not matter. It
It's the
just
way
did
it's
not
gonna
matter.
go. It's never really
It's
gonna change, man.
yep, yep.
I don't think I
Yeah.
see it
People love
No,
changing.
their
the
football.
NFL has become something of it's like been part of the zeitgeist, if you guys remember that
Yes.
term from the early 2000s. It's
It's a
like
great term.
it's literally embodied in everyone's like just in
Yep.
society now, and it's part of what people do on Sundays or whenever it's on at this point. So it's great for the league. It's great for sports industry in general. But no, it's tough, I'm sure, for the NBA, especially like you mentioned, Justin. Christmas Day used to be their thing, and now it feels
Yeah,
like they can't get people to watch. So it's like it's got to feel like it's tough when you're trying to pick locations, pick dates on in terms of where you're gonna play. So it's not a good look for some of the other leagues for sure. I mean, the Winter Classic thing was terrible. I mean, I didn't.
It was.
I'm sure I knew at some point along the way, but it really wasn't until like Sunday, which I think was like the 30th of December, where I was like, oh, this game's not on Thursday, it's on Friday.
yeah,
And like
Yeah.
that, I think that's a problem. And I've seen other people say this too, is like they just don't market these games properly anymore. They used
yeah.
to be
That
a big
game
deal.
was on
Doesn't
market.
feel like they even are trying to get it out there. It feels like they're just checking off the box. Okay, we've done a couple outdoor games. I
Yeah,
had to check it to see there's another one coming up, I guess, in Tampa soon next month. So I'm
yeah.
like,
Yeah. It's
Tampa and
like what?
Boston,
just like, what are
the
we doing? So
Stadium
I mean,
Series,
yeah, it feels like these things need to be handled better,
marketed more. Yeah,
NHL, and that's I think the real problem in that. But you're right, like the NFL has just become a mass market of its own. It's not it shouldn't even be considered a sport or a television product anymore. It's just like the NFL. It's just like its own thing that
it's
everybody
a
Own thing.
religion
just
in the states. It's a religion.
That's
it's
true.
incredible. Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
you don't live in the states without watching football at least once a year.
Sure.
Uh, but man, like I just want to quickly before we go to another sport here, say there's a possibility that I could take out both your teams in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs.
There is that possibility. Yes.
Yeah,
I mean
and
that. But
I'm just
I know
saying
that.
there's a good possibility that might happen.
I mean, obviously, you guys, Alex and Justin, your teams are facing off in the first round. But brother, I got my own problems in the first round.
yeah.
I'm not sure. I'm focused on Sunday, and if we end up getting to wherever, if it's in New England, if we gotta, I guess LA would come to us. But that wouldn't even be the matchup, so it doesn't even matter.
No.
Um,
No, yeah,
whether we're headed to New England,
well,
whether we're headed to Denver, wherever we're going, it
yeah,
it would be it's just let's just get through this week. I'm not looking past Jacksonville because they're a good team. We
really,
talked
okay,
about it. Oh,
good,
you can't
good.
look past
Yeah.
this
I don't
team, and
think you can.
The Bills shouldn't either, man. They can't they gotta take this team seriously because they it's not like this is the Bills of last year, especially where they looked like they're a buzzsaw and they're gonna chew through anybody on their way to the top tier teams. Jacksonville is maybe one of those top tier teams, and the Bills haven't fared well against some of the better teams this year. So it's gonna be one of those things where, like Alex said, Josh Allen could do this all on his own, but he shouldn't have to, and he hopefully won't have to because this team has some talent around him, and James Cook better run the ball well, and the defense has to play to its best, even if it's not great. It's supposed to play to its best. So
Mhm.
yeah, we'll
Well,
see what happens.
let me ask you this, because I have a thought on this, but I just want to ask your guys' opinion as well. Who do you think, a single player, who do you think has the most pressure out of anyone in these NFL playoffs this season?
Mm,
Like pressure from the media, pressure from like their own
Pressure to
market,
win, just
just anything.
pressure to
probably.
win the Super Bowl.
Uh.
I think it's
I
a
think
clear
if
cut number one.
Well, I think
I mean,
if the Ravens made the playoffs, I would say him over who. I know exactly who you're talking about, but I would say Lamar would be first, and then the guy behind
yeah,
Brandon. But
it's
like,
Yeah,
definitely
but he's
Josh. Let's
it
be real.
has to be Josh. Like there's no second even that comes close to this in this conversation right now, because there is literally nobody that has stood in his way for the last couple of years in this way right now, and he has the most experience out of anyone other than Aaron Rodgers, who we're not like counting for right now. But he has the most experience out of any of these quarterbacks and has been the best quarterback in the world for the last year and a half. And this is the opportunity, the golden opportunity to at least make the Super Bowl. Like
Yeah. No, I mean it's
it,
true. Like,
if he doesn't make it to the Super Bowl this year, it's a failure. And this is probably the last time they have the opportunity to go to the Super Bowl in this window right now, in my opinion.
well, I mean, I don't know about that last point, but you're right about the pressure on Josh. Like there's no question that, like you said, he does have the most pressure on him just based on the fact that they haven't gotten it done in the past. And the narrative's going to be no Mahomes, no Lamar. Those are the guys that have beaten him. No Burrow. So like, who's going to beat you this time? Trevor Lawrence? Oh, okay, then we got to change, our looks then on who you
Yeah,
are, Josh Allen. So that's where it is. Drake May. He's still a young guy. You should be able to beat him. But like you said, the Patriots are probably the better team when you talk about overall of all three phases. So it's going to take a heroic Josh Allen performance probably on
like
multiple occasions to
he's
get
going to
where they got to be.
need the best month of football I think we've ever seen.
See, but I agree with you, but that's why I actually don't think there's that much pressure on him, because if he needs to be the best player possible, like that there shouldn't be pressure on him. You know what I mean? Like, who
Well,
else does he have on
but
his team?
we
Yeah, like
expect that out of him now.
he has like an excuse, and I do
He
agree.
has
Like
no
if
excuse
they
in my
lose,
opinion.
no, because again, if they lose, I don't think unless he goes out and throws 3 interceptions, fumbles the ball, whatever. Like
Exactly.
there are ways where it could be his fault. But more importantly, the team has showed this year that they are not a Super Bowl contender if they do not have Josh Allen. Some other teams in the playoffs, not all of them, but some other teams in the playoffs would be Super Bowl contenders if you move quarterback here and there and maybe switch them around. It's just not the case. And the Bills, I think, in the past have had a better defense. They've had, maybe better skill position. I think their offensive line is probably their best feature right now outside of Josh. But it's just one of those things where, yeah, like they're going to get beat in other ways. It's not because Josh Allen's not going to be great. That's, I think, what Alex is trying to say is like he's going to be
Yeah.
himself. And if they lose, it's not necessarily going to be his fault because they have so many other flaws. So I think
Yeah.
that's where it kind of comes and goes, where it's like we kind of got to see how the game plays out before we decide, what it looks like. But you're 1,000% right in that he will still have immense pressure on him to get it done because
For sure.
he can't afford to at least not be the reason they win. If they win, it's going to be because of him.
It can't be his fault. Like if he throws 3 interceptions or if he does, then it's like, all right, well, Josh Allen can't get it done. But I just looked to Connor McDavid. Like the past 2 runs, has he been the problem? He hasn't even been close. Like I don't look at that and go, Connor McDavid can't win the big one himself. They've had horrendous goaltending. Yes, they went to the finals, but like if you had a decent goaltender, maybe you get by a couple of games, you lose. Like, I
Yeah,
just think it's more of the team. Like the Bills have pressure. I wouldn't put it solely on Josh Allen, and I think it's just because
yeah,
what
but
else
when
does
we're
he have
talking
around
about
him?
the NFL and talking about legacies, who has the biggest legacy? It's always the
Yeah,
quarterback. So
of
he
course.
has the most pressure to
I
make
do
this happen.
I do think the most tangible and like in terms of a real life scenario, the most pressure is probably on Sean McDermott because if they lose this
Yes,
Oh yeah,
weekend,
he's gone.
he should be
done.
fired in my opinion. Like there's no excuse anymore. You have the best player. Your team has been there, done that. You have the experience. So if you go out this weekend, even a divisional round loss to the Patriots, even if we get there like
Yeah,
that, there could
That's
be
viewed as a failure to me if you're a
there
Buffalo
could
Bills
there
fan.
could be a justification to even move on at that point. So he's got his job is going to be on the line. So I think he's going to have a lot of pressure, especially early on. Yeah, you get to an AFC title game, it kind of switches a little bit because maybe you kind of view it as you're close, you're there, you can kind of maybe
Yeah,
justify keeping him. But you're right, like Allen will be viewed at that point as maybe the guy who can't get it done instead of the coach failed the team. So
yeah.
as the playoffs go on, it'll be interesting to see how the dynamic switches. But you're right. The team itself has the most pressure on them, definitely, to get it done, and we'll just have to see what happens because
I
it's going to be
just
one hell of a gauntlet to get through.
I view him as the most like he is going to get scrutinized the most if he loses. And it's not going to matter about the team around him. It's not good. People aren't going to care about that. They're going to look at it and say, you didn't have Burrow. Burrow didn't have an offensive line when he went to the Super Bowl. Like, he went through Patrick Mahomes that year.
yeah,
You have nobody in terms of this level of quarterback. Patrick Mahomes, Joe Burrow, and Lamar Jackson standing in your way. And everyone is going to look at him and say, how could you not get this done?
Well, I
How
mean,
could
and
you not
even
put it on your back and get it done? That's what
it's
people are
funny
going to say.
now that you say that though. Like, say the Bills did, I think, which would kind of be a miracle, end up winning the Super Bowl. Don't you think the narrative at that point would be like, well, he did it. He didn't have to go through Burrow. He didn't have to go through Mahomes. He didn't have to go through Lamar.
yeah.
Well, let's see what happens when he has to face them next year, whatever. Like,
That
you
would be the
almost can't
case, but
win,
you know
but
what
that's
you
what it
can
is.
do? You can say, I have a Super Bowl ring. Who cares?
100%. No,
And that's
1,000%.
what
No
I mean.
way.
Look at the Raptors too, by the way. Like everyone, that's the narrative with the 2019 Raptors. Like
Yeah.
LeBron's not in the East anymore. Yeah, you're able to even beat the like, and obviously, I
Yeah.
don't think any of us feel this way, but everyone looked at them to say not even Kevin Durant was available, to stop you. You still have the ring, and I don't see a scenario in the next maybe let's say just 2 years. I don't see another scenario where those big dogs are competing with the Bills in the playoffs. Like Mahomes probably won't be available for the majority of next year. Who knows where Baltimore is and where Lamar ends up if it's after next year. And I don't know if Joe Burrow will be a Bengal. I think these are all like galaxy brain scenarios, but we don't know if he'll have to go through any of these guys. There might be a Drake May, a Justin Herbert, and Trevor
Yeah, I
Lawrence
think Drake
again in
May
the
is
way
the
next year.
biggest competition to Josh Allen in the future. I'm just
You
being
know, like
straight honest. Like this is, I honestly think that Drake May will be the biggest problem for Josh Allen going forward for the rest of his career
the
if he
this
stays in the
playoffs.
AFC East.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean
No,
the
for the
playoffs
rest
will
of his
tell
career.
the playoffs will tell a lot, though, is what I'm saying. Like these playoffs
Yeah.
will show a lot of what we should expect. I think
Yeah,
moving
with
forward
the
too.
with the extra wildcard teams now, like we see in the NFC West, like you can still be a contender in the same division as another. But you're right, Justin. Like they at some point will have to go head to head in the playoffs, and that's going to be what decides that. Like you said, both their legacies and May's going to be younger. Their team, is on the come up as opposed to the Bills, where a lot of people, are going to be saying they're going to be on the decline. Which, after
Like
you look at this year, it's not a crazy statement to make. So we'll
and
see
like
what.
the Patriots are like they're way above what they should be right now. Like in my personal opinion, like I
Yeah.
was not expecting this. They should
No.
this is a year away. Like in terms of competing for the division and being a playoff team, I thought that was a year away. I thought they were going to be competitive this year, win 8-9 games, like maybe sneak into a playoff, but like be like the 7th seed wildcard team. They're way past what they should be right now, and it's all because of Drake May. And this is why I'm saying that Josh Allen's biggest competition is going to be Drake May, because I haven't seen that out of any of the quarterbacks to show this kind of level of play. It's just been Drake May. Like it literally has been in the AFC outside of Josh Allen. Who's the scariest quarterback that you think that you're going to have to face, Brandon?
Well, I mean, I don't know. I hadn't really thought of it that way because I haven't. It's very rare, I think, in this day of the NFL that you look at a team and you think that they're, like you said, outside of maybe Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes, like where you look at a team and it's like it's their quarterback. That's what you're worried about. The Patriots, Drake May does scare me, but I'm scared about, like you said, the way the team has overperformed, the way that Mike Vrabel has come in and motivated them,
Yeah,
the way that they've
yeah.
changed their
The
structure to be a lot
culture.
better defensively. Their pass rush is very good. They can run the ball. Like there's lots of different things that I think scare me. But you're right. Like Drake May has overperformed and has looked great in his early years. What is this, his second full season? Like he's
Second year. No, not even second full year, just second year in the
right.
league. He didn't
So
start till midway
even
through
better,
the first year.
first full season. So it's even he just goes
Yeah.
to show that like he's on a trajectory to be one of the best players in the NFL for sure. But I don't know that, and obviously this doesn't necessarily apply to the Bills because they don't have a fantastic defense. But one thing they do have is a good pass defense, and if they're able to properly, scheme for the Patriots, it may come down to whether or not the Bills could stop the run. And we've seen in their matchups that that's been, basically what the difference has been. So, yeah, I just want to see, like I said, how the team performs around Allen, because that's in the end, that's what's going to
Yeah.
come down to whether or not you can get wins or not. And especially again, like I said, a team like Jacksonville, where yeah, maybe Trevor Lawrence himself doesn't scare you, but you look at the weapons that he has, you look at the defense, behind him, you look at their, developing. Again, I could use another term that I use for Vrabel. Liam Cohen has motivated this team to believe that they can be one of the best
Yeah.
teams in the
Yeah.
league as well. So, if you think that you put all that together, and that's a scary team, any team in the AFC would be scary because they're in a situation where it feels like they can win now. So, yeah, I mean, it's going to be fantastic couple of weeks, I think, for sure, to
Yeah.
watch
So exciting.
100%.
the AFC kind of see
100%.
who comes out, and even the NFC, it feels like it's more wide open than maybe it's ever been.
Yeah, I'm pumped.
Mhm.
We can turn the page to just quickly maybe the opposite end of the spectrum, the teams that aren't even close to making the playoffs but have coaching vacancies. We don't have to go through all of them. There are currently 8 as it stands right now. I think
Yeah.
what might be beneficial or might be a fun segment is just to go through the best what we think is the best coaching and the worst coaching job available as it stands this Friday. And while you're listening, no one has been fired outside of the A teams. Most recent firing was Mike McDaniel. So we might get another one, but
Yeah,
as of now, we don't
I
know who
would
that person might be.
I would assume if it's gonna be another one, it'd be Aaron Glenn out of the New York Jets, if
Yeah,
there was any Harbaugh situation there, but we'll see.
and the thing is, I think at this point, like it'd be kind of strange. I think you give him one more. We don't have to worry about it, but I think he gets another year. It would be crazy to fire him after 1 year. We've
Maybe.
seen that with another team on this list, but it maybe speaks a little bit more to more of the issues that were going on. What Justin? Maybe we'll start with you. Do you have your favorite or the number one open position, and then probably what the worst position would be for coaching vacancies?
My personal best situation, I think, is the Giants. I
Mm,
think if you have a healthy Cam Scottaboo, if you have a defense with Sex Dexy, and you have Abdul Carter, the third overall pick from last year, you have Jackson Dart. Although if you're the head coach, you gotta get in there and you gotta get into his head right away to stay out of that blue medical tent and not slide or take a hit every single time. Because if
yeah.
so, he's going to have a 2-year career, and that's going to be the end of him. But I think the Giants are the most intriguing one. And then probably my second one. You said top three, right? Didn't you?
I was just thinking like
Or-
best and worst. I was just thinking
Okay,
best and
best and
worst.
worst.
Yeah.
Because I was going to say Raiders would probably be my number two. And then from there, I think it's a mishmash.
What? Really?
I kind of
Yeah.
want to hear where you're going with this,
Okay.
so you can go
Okay,
ahead.
Yeah, get
so
into it.
I think the Raiders, if you pick, we know if you get a good quarterback, it changes a franchise around. And Fernando Mendoza, I think, is a legit good quarterback. I think he's a good franchise quarterback. We've seen what he's done in the college football playoffs the whole season. He's been unreal. And you can see by his interviews and just the way he talks about himself, it's not about him, it's about the team, and he's willing to put in the work. And that's the thing that kind of like it's a good person as well. That's like that you're not going to have someone that's a head case off the field that you have to worry about, like Abdul Carter, which I know I just praised him, but he has been a head case this season, but he has that talent that is like he's third overall worthy. Like, yeah, exactly. Falling asleep in meetings. But you know what I mean? Like, I think if you have Fernando Mendoza, and then you have a guy like Ashton Genty, and then you have a tight end, in my opinion, that's the best tight end in the game in terms of pass catching in Brock Bowers. Like you have some pieces, and then you have Max Crosby on the defensive side. Now, I will say that it is the most or second most attractive coaching position, in my opinion, but but it depends on which coach they get. Because if they end up doing like a Pete Carroll hire again, then it's an absolute train wreck and disaster, and the Las Vegas Raiders are just an absolute disaster. So it just depends on what kind of like they're attractive to the head coaching market, but they better not be like the Raiders better not be attracted to a Pete Carroll type again. That's basically
Yeah.
where I'm going to leave that. That's why I think they're number two. Why do you guys not think they're number two?
I mean, I can jump in, Brandon. I just feel like they've been they've been middling or like the bottom five in the league for I don't even know how long. I think their last best quarterback that they had was Rich Gannon in 2002. So Derek Carr being they're basically their best quarterback in the last like quarter century is pretty crazy. I don't know much about like I evaluating quarterbacks from college. I can't say that I'm that that guy that knows exactly what's going on. From my understanding, it's a weak quarterback class. So you could take Fernando Mendoza, and I understand your point. With Indiana, he's played extremely well so far, and obviously still has a couple more games to go. If they win the national title next Monday, there's a possibility that he can sort of cement himself easily as number one. But I don't know if he's like your savior. I also don't know if Max Crosby's very happy. He's been very loyal so far. In my opinion, he's out. I think he's like, I'm not dealing with this nonsense. I don't know how many coaches he's gone through. And I know building around skill positions is like the sexy thing to do with your Ashton Genty and your Brock Bowers. But at the end of the day, like, who's protecting him? Who is on defense outside of Max
Sure.
Crosby? They played horrendous this year. They were by
Yeah, but
large the worst team in the league.
that was like they're not that bad. Like they're not that bad. Like they were this bad this season because it was absolutely terrible from Pete Carroll. Like it just was. Like that was a terrible hire. They should have never done that. But they aren't 3-14 bad. They're not that
Yeah.
bad. Like they have talented players. They just
Yeah.
did not have a good system. They could not score. And the thing that you're going to say about throwing money at their top, or not throwing money, who is going to protect them? I'm pretty sure they have a ton of cap space this offseason that they can go throw a bunch of money at offensive linemen to protect Fernando Mendoza.
Yeah,
Brandon?
I mean, I would kind of put them somewhere in the middle. I mean, I think they're maybe not there. I think what Alex was trying to say is like they're maybe not there yet with their roster where a coach might want to, look at them and be like, wow, like outside of a few players that, their roster, I think is pretty dreadful, to be honest. I don't think there's much to like other than, like you said, Justin, some really good, important players that will be great. But I think it's hard to look at the roster and think that a coach is going to be that attractive or attracted to the position. I think another thing I think isn't being talked about as much, and it could be a positive, could be a negative. I don't know. I'm still kind of trying to get a read, but I don't think it's going to be super easy to be a head coach under Tom Brady. Like I think that
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
him being kind of a part of it. I don't know how involved he's going to be day to day, but I can't imagine at least in terms of like your own legacy, in terms of your, you know, you got to get the players to trust you, to want to work, to play for you, and kind of having that kind of weird structure where you've got Brady kind of above you. I think maybe kind of could create something that maybe isn't too um, attractive to some coaches. I mean, I could be wrong. Maybe that's a real positive thing where guys want to go in and work with him, and that's how it works. But there's a lot of ego in NFL and football in general, and that could be something I think that maybe will deter people. But just in general, I mean, for me, um, my number one spot would be Baltimore. I mean, I don't know
Mm.
how else you can say it without when you have a quarterback like Lamar Jackson, multiple time MVP, who's for the moment at least under contract, is going to be likely healthy going into next season. They've got some great players around him too. Obviously, things with Derrick Henry and his age and whatever that could be something to look into. But most likely that team's going to be locked and loaded and ready for a new season, another chance at the kick at the can, hopefully.
Yeah.
So I think you're going to look at that job as probably at least for right now, maybe not long term. I totally understand, Justin, what you're saying. Um, but I think that for me is kind of
Are you
that's where I
not
would
worried
start.
that Lamar won or might win out though?
Sure, but I mean, like that's what I'm
Or do
saying.
you
It's like
think that's why Harbaugh was fired?
I think Harbaugh was fired because
Because that's a conversation of its own. Like, do you
but I
think
think it
that it
was
was?
I think it was a combination of he mishandled Lamar a little bit, and I think that there had just been so much time since he'd won the Super Bowl that you had a moment here, a window where they hadn't done well, and you could justify doing it. I think if you waited
Okay,
and
yeah,
next year they're back in the playoffs, it makes it harder to
yeah,
do that. But I also think, yeah, like the Lamar situation there. Hopefully, the thought is if you're a new coach going in there, that you can come in and hopefully dispel some of the chaos that's kind of been going on there with Lamar. So outside of that, obviously, to me, I look at it as Lamar's week one starter for the Ravens. And even if that's only for one more year, I don't think he has that much longer on his contract. Maybe he's got 2 more years, but you take the chance. I think if you get the opportunity to, at the very least, give yourself a chance to win a Super Bowl when you have
yeah.
a quarterback like Lamar Jackson. So that's where I'm looking. But in terms of the worst, I've kind of gone back and forth on this. Like, and I don't know what you guys think. I tend to think it's just the Tennessee Titans.
Mhm.
I think I
The
like
worst?
I
I've
think they're
seen
the
a lot of people say that they're the best.
I like a little bit of what I've seen out of Cam Ward, but similar to the probably worse than the Raiders is just their roster is just like
Yeah,
so
their roster's
poor.
terrible.
Like
But
they don't have skill positions. Forget about it. Their defense awful. They Cam Ward I think was the most sacked quarterback this year, if I'm not mistaken. If he
yeah, he
wasn't,
was
it
up
was
there. He was
yeah. Like
definitely up there for that.
they have so much still to do, and I think it'd be hard to if you go coach there, you're most likely just coaching there to be fired at some point. So I think that's kind of where
Yeah, that's a
uh,
good point,
I think that's just
actually.
and outside, like there are some other bad jobs for sure, but I think
What about
that's the one that I
I
think is
I
probably the
think
worst for me.
the worst has to be Arizona.
I think the worst could be Arizona or Miami, dude. Like,
Miami's in
Miami's
capital too. Like
Miami's pretty bad, yeah. But I think
they're
they have some talent where a new guy comes in
yeah.
and it's like for at least next year you could see a little bit of a new coach bump. But like, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, Arizona, they have
they're in a tough
good
spot.
players, but they
The
also are not
Miami
very good.
like
But they're gonna
Arizona's
pick
in a worse
pretty.
spot, I think.
Where are they gonna pick?
They're
Yeah,
third.
so I mean, like if a coach goes in there has a plan, maybe they say, hey, we want to go get somebody. I don't even know what their plan would be really at this point. Like,
Well, you got to trade
uh,
Kyler. Like he's gone.
yeah, I guess, but then it's like, yeah, you're gonna draft a quarterback, you're gonna try to trade for one. Like, you're not
Well, it depends on
Yeah.
who
putting
you're
out there
trading that
Jacoby
quarterback
Brissett.
to. Because
Yeah.
are you
Well,
trading
that's
that quarterback to the Jets? Because if so, then you probably have Dante Moore sitting to you or sliding to you at 3, and they're probably going to take a
yeah.
defensive player
I
at
think they're
2.
more likely to. Yeah, I think they're more likely to want to do like a stopgap year and then try to draft one maybe next year. I don't know.
I think
Who?
that probably would be the
Arizona?
smarter move.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I would assume that maybe Jacoby Brissett's like their option at quarterback next
Could
year.
be.
Yeah, and there
Still be
probably
years.
will, as always, there'll be some guys that are going to be free agents who will be
Yeah,
available.
just
And they might be able to
challenge
pick one up.
him.
Yeah, so we'll see.
But yeah, that would be my worst team. Just there's nothing there.
One of the ones that are definitely down there for sure.
I would say Vegas would be worst. I can't
That's
see a
crazy.
world. I can't see a world where
That's
like
crazy.
you turn that team around with like a couple great skill positions and that's it. You really need a guy that you're gonna want to
but they
be there for a
have
long time.
so they have I looked it up. They have the third most cap space this year. $88 million. Now the Chargers have number 1 and the Titans have number 2. But they have $88 million to throw around this year.
Yeah, you still have to actually sign the guys. Like it would be it's a fair point, but you would want guys to actually go there. So this doesn't answer the question. This doesn't sort of make sense. But yes, I will agree that it's very important that they select their coach wisely because you have all that you have all that salary cap to work with. You want to hire a guy that players will want to go, oh, I want to play for that guy, or I want to play alongside all these guys and be led by like a leader of
Yeah.
men. I keep seeing Vegas. I see how poorly they've been over the last not century, that would be forever, for the last like 10 years. And they just haven't put anything together and they've worked through different things. Now, Josh McDaniels was a bummer there. And, there was so many just negative decisions. Think I'm a little bit more concerned with their decision making than anything. And I just find it hard. Like Mark Davis, by the time you are maybe successful in the next 2 or 3 years, you're going to have to pay Brock Bowers. You're going to have to pay Ashton Genty. So you're going to have to pay all these guys. And when you're maybe going in towards a Super Bowl or playoff window, your window's up in terms of the salary cap that you have available to play that extra couple of pieces that you need to pay. So I just think it's a weird position for them to be in. Best, and in terms of best, yeah, I actually kind of agree with Justin. I think the Giants are in a good spot. In that you have a lot of positions available, but I'd be worried about working with Joe Shane, who's probably on his last guy.
Yeah, that's probably
know?
the one
Like, I don't
downfall
know
with
how
that.
he's still there.
But if you have a
ultimately
coach that goes in, do you think it would be the same thing? Because that's how Mike McDaniels was fired today. Because GMs are doing the head coaching or doing the interview, and they said we don't want to work with Mike McDaniel. Okay, bye, Mike McDaniel.
Well, that's I think the smart decision because you go back and forth so often. So I think Atlanta made the right decision in firing both guys. Like we're gonna clean house because generally what's gonna happen is Joe Shane knows he's on his last leg. He's gonna just go, I'm gonna hire the guy I think I like. Let's say it doesn't work out, then you got to fire the GM and you have the coach, and your new GM is gonna come in and he might not want the coach you just hired. So then you're in a bit difficult position. So in a sense, I think Atlanta did it right where they're going, we're gonna build up and get the GM. GM's going to pick the coach. Coach is going to lead it from there. So I think Brandon convinced me to say I would put Baltimore up there, but it would be like extremely close. And Justin, I'm with you that New York would be right up there. If not one, they're two.
Yeah.
Quickly, Alex mentioned Atlanta. I was kind of close to putting them up there too. I like, for a couple of reasons. I like the division that they're in. I think it's a very winnable division every year. I like obviously I love Bijan Robinson. I think you have one of the
Yeah,
best backs in the league there, one of the best playmakers. It's like going to, coach Christian McCaffrey or something. Like it's similar to that. So I think that's a great one.
yeah,
And three, I think they have similar to what Justin said about it's very important who you choose. I think they have options because they had for at least the first half of the year. I don't know so much about how the year ended, what the ranks were, but they had a pretty good defense for a while. They have a lot of, I think, talked about the rosters. I think they have a pretty decent roster if they can just figure out who the quarterback is going to be, which obviously is not the easiest thing to figure out. But I
yeah.
think
That's the
that
problem.
that I think that team is very coachable. Like I think if you get a guy that you like, you bring him in and it works. I think they have a chance to kind of get back and be one of the better teams in the league. But at the
Right.
same time, like it's just one of those things. Yeah, like you don't. It's you. There's no direction. It feels like, and they made it clear. Like they're when they fired everybody, basically, president or GM coach. It's like, okay, we want to start fresh, kind of here. We know we have some stuff, but we need some new minds to come in and work with it the best way possible. So I think
Mhm.
that job is pretty favorable as well. Like maybe not the best, maybe not the second best, but it's up there. I think in terms of the
But
top half of
is that new
jobs. That
guy coming in just to trade Michael Penix? Like, do you
No, I mean
trust?
it can't
You
be that
believe?
you're number one. I think you gotta have guys come in, hopefully like a GM and coach that are aligned. They're talking about like a Matt Ryan type eventually to kind of lead
Oh yeah.
everybody. Like you just need to have a kind of a collective idea of what you're doing because it was
Yeah,
clear with the Penix and the Kirk Cousins things that it doesn't feel like they were upfront and they weren't, as a group connected on
yeah.
what they were going to do. So I think you bring guys in who I think are all on the same page and I think with some of the guys that they have, they can only really get better at this point. And they weren't that bad. They almost made the playoffs this year, sort of, but they weren't that bad. So
Huh. Yeah. A lot of changing, a lot of moving parts. We'll focus more on NFL wildcard weekend this weekend. We'll have some updates next week as well. We went long on the NFL here, boys, but I think it's
We
right. I
went
mean, there's
way
a
long on
ton of
the
stuff to
NFL stuff.
talk about. I think a great place to go to now, maybe to wrap up, we'll see how long this goes, but we haven't talked hockey. I know the rosters came out, but I think ultimately I'm curious to see where the playoff picture sort of ends up as we're pretty much at the halfway point in the season. I'm curious your guys' perspective on how many Canadian teams are going to end up in the playoffs when this
Oh,
season is
this
all
is an
said and
easy
done.
answer.
I don't
This
know
is
if
an
it is,
easy answer.
man.
No, this is
I don't
easy.
know if it is. I'm curious. You could say the number of teams first, and we can say like
Three,
why.
three.
Yeah. Who are the three, would you say?
Montreal, Edmonton, Toronto. It's three.
Toronto. I think that'd be
Three.
controversial take.
Why?
nah,
Why is that
we're
What do you have for
controversial?
me?
If Austin Matthews
leave
is
it
going to
on
play
that.
the way that he's played the last 10 games, you're damn right they're making the playoffs. Like, there
Yeah,
is
you
no
think so?
question they're making the playoffs. The question would be, where would they finish and who are they going to bump out? Because I would argue that, like, Florida is going to make the playoffs. They're 100% going to make the playoffs. So is Detroit coming out? Are they going to take both Are they going to take both wild card spots again? Is the Islanders going to slip up and fall out of the playoffs and Metro
Well, I'll
completely?
tell
Is
you that there's
Pittsburgh
one
going to do
team
the same thing?
that's the team.
Yeah.
They're not making the playoffs, brother.
Yeah.
The
See, like, that's
Penguins,
the
it's not
thing.
happening. Like
Yeah,
whether it's
but they're the most
Flyers can come out
shocking.
of there. I
Yeah, the
mean, I don't
Flyers are
know.
still up there. Like, it's absolutely flipped on its head right now. It still has been. Everyone's in the East has a winning record. The Ottawa
Yeah.
Senators, I don't think are making the playoffs. Um, I don't think the Winnipeg Jets are making the playoffs. I think they're gonna be
oh
tough
yeah,
to even get out of
you gotta get out
32nd
of the
in the league.
basement, man. Yeah, they've had a tough run.
Um,
The
they
Western
don't have
Conference,
secondary scoring.
the bottom three teams in the West are Calgary, Vancouver, and Winnipeg,
Yeah,
like
it's not a
back to back,
shock.
which is
It's not a
so
shock.
brutal.
But Vancouver, like, I like the fact that they're buying into this and going directly into the toilet for this season at least. Because yeah, they should go get a top 5 pick and then, maybe get rid of some more assets and get some more good young players at the trade deadline and really, really just pound the rebuild and because like they're not. You tell me that a third overall pick or whatever, like Ivan Stenberg, is gonna change around the franchise, and they're gonna be ready to compete next year? No, like they should
Wait,
just completely tear it down and trade
they have
everyone.
They have the second overall pick right now.
Yeah,
Obviously, this is a
trade
result
everyone.
of the lottery, but like you obviously now you have Zeev Buiam, who might not be a Quinn Hughes, but he might be the number
He
one
might
on
be
that team for
close
a
to
long
it.
time. And then what if you get Keaton Verhoff? Maybe you
Yeah,
draft the
like
next
that's what I
Quinn
mean. Like
Hughes.
if you
You know?
draft good and you get another first round pick for Kiefer Sherwood this year, and then you also maybe trade away Thatcher Demko or Connor Garland, like one of those two guys, Brock Besser even, or maybe keep Connor Garland and trade Brock Besser, like Jake DeBrusk. All of these guys can fetch you assets that you can use in return to then, you know, draft well, which is the other
Mhm.
thing that would be scary for Vancouver fans is the fact they haven't drafted well ever in like the last 10 years. So that's the scary part if you're a Vancouver fan. Calgary, I think they should just accept the fact they're not good, and just tank. Like, like they need to accept it. They try to fight it here for like a couple weeks out of the season, and they win off like, or they go on like a 7-game win streak, or go 7-3 in their last 10 or whatever. But they're not good. They're not that good. So then why just accept the fact that you aren't going to make the playoffs and just tank, just tank. But yeah, 3 teams.
3 teams. 3 teams.
I mean, I
Brandon?
can't really say that Justin's wrong. I mean, especially lately, in terms of the Canadian teams, like it's definitely become more grouped. Like you said, there's kind of the halves in terms of the Montreal Canadiens and the uh, the Maple Leafs, the Oilers. It seems like those three are pretty safe to. I mean, maybe the Leafs will be around it for sure. I think we expect at this point that they maybe have found
Yeah.
their groove a little bit, and they're going to be competitive for at least that final wildcard spot. I expect them to be even better than some of the teams that would be chasing that spot. But in the end, yeah, like it's hard when you're Vancouver and you've kind of just completely lost your way. You know, like 2 years ago, if you told me this team was going to be at the bottom,
Yeah.
it would have been hard to believe. But yeah, sometimes you do your best, and they looked like they had a really good potential brewing, but things just don't work out, and you got to kind of start over again. And like you said, Justin, I do agree that they were a team that kind of needed to do that because they're going to need. Um, I think more high end talent will eventually help them kind of figure it out. I think Calgary, like you said, they try to fight it because I think of their neighbors down the road in the Oilers, and they
Yeah.
just want to be a part of it every year. And so often they go on runs that where it's like they're too good to be bad, but they're not trying to be that good. So it's just like kind of
Yeah.
confusing
Yeah.
sometimes, and not
Yeah.
to no one's fault. That's just the way sports is. The guys are always going to go out there and try to win. So
Yeah.
it shows that they have some pieces, and if they are able to kind of continue to acquire prospects and young talent, maybe soon some of that will bloom and they'll be back kind of in the mix again as well. But the real concerning one or two, I guess, are the two that you mentioned off the top, I think, which is the Winnipeg Jets, where I have a hunch to believe that this is a more of an outlier season,
Yeah.
Yeah, I
just
would
because of
agree.
injuries and the way that things have changed. I think the Ehlers losing Ehlers was, I think, maybe more of a loss than people expected.
You know what? I'll say this: losing Ehlers was a bigger impact than the Maple Leafs losing Marner. But I think Marner to the Maple Leafs was a or losing Marner to the Maple Leafs was a big impact. But Ehlers was a massive impact to the Winnipeg Jets.
Yeah, I mean, you're talking about, you look at the Jets lineup, and I mean, there's no doubt that there is some skill and talent there, but it's not to the level, across certain players that it is in Toronto. So I would
Yeah.
agree. I would agree with that statement right now, just because of the way that their year's gone. I
Hmm.
think that they're just going to be in trouble again because hopefully their window hasn't closed. They still have, one of, if not the best goaltender in the world. So, hopefully they can kind of get back on track next year, maybe make a few little changes here and there, get healthy
Like
again, and they can take another kick at it. But yeah, it's going to be tough to climb out of that basement right now.
they are a team though, like you said, like it's an off season or off year for them, and like it wouldn't be shocking to me if they got like the first or top 3 overall pick
Sure.
and use that
That
player
would be
and
helpful
then
for them.
went and was a playoff team next year. Like it wouldn't
100%.
be shocking to me if that's what happened. They also had terrible health to start the season, and that was a factor. So yeah, but like it would not shock me if that was the
Yeah.
case. If we're talking about an Winnipeg Jets team that drafts top 3, and then oh look, they're in the playoffs again.
Yeah, and that's a similar case to the Senators, which you talked about earlier. Like they lost their captain for a little bit here
Yeah.
Yeah,
to start the season. They just haven't looked the same. I think as much as people wanted Linus Ullmark to come in and be, the number one goalie that they thought they were getting, he just hasn't been that, and he may not ever be that. I don't know. Like
well,
Yeah.
so,
he's off the roster now.
like it's just one of those things where it just didn't work out, unfortunately, and that's something they'll have to live with. And the search will continue for them, and it may just be one of those things where yeah, like this year just may not be the year where they continue to improve, but that doesn't mean that they don't have a bunch of good pieces that I think eventually will still culminate in a great team. It just will take a little bit longer than maybe people were hoping for. So we'll just have to see what happens there.
Huh.
Yeah,
Yeah, I'm a little surprised at the optimism around the Leafs. I mean, I'm happy to hear it. I would love to see them push for a playoff spot. I just think that the smallest sample size of the last 7 games is just the last 7 games, and the first 20 or 35, I guess 34, whatever it is a little
sure.
bit more telling about their team because I think this is game 42 or 3 tonight. So I think 43. So and the next slate of games that they have. So before the Olympic break, I don't have the specifics, but I think they have
They got
15 games in like
15 games. Yeah,
28,
yeah,
28 days. And they're playing Colorado twice. They're playing Vegas twice. They're playing Minnesota.
yeah.
They're playing Edmonton.
I
Like
listen.
it's gonna be a tough task, even if Austin Matthews is all of a sudden Austin Matthews
I
again.
get that, but like we can all agree that Toronto's too talented to be in the bottom of the league. Like
Yeah.
they're too talented. They have too good of a roster. It's eventually going to figure itself out. Now, do I think if you were to say is a Canadian team going to win a playoff round, I would say Toronto's not going to win a playoff round. Like I don't think but I think that they can make the playoffs. Like, I think there's a difference between those 2 things, and I think Toronto making the playoffs, is most definitely going to happen. It's just I don't I don't see them doing anything in the playoffs, I'll put it to you that way. It's basically like Ottawa
Yeah.
last year where you just make it in and happy to make it, but continue the streak of most playoff appearances in a row in the NHL, like, so yeah, I don't know. That's where I'm
Yeah,
at
It
with
would
the
be
Toronto
it
Maple
would be
Leafs.
such a Buffalo Sabres thing if, like, the Leafs and Sabres were vying for the last spot and the Sabres just didn't make it, by the way. Like, I could see that. I can see that happening,
Uh,
like, those wild card spots. I actually would think that if the Leafs do get in, watch out because I think they're struggling to find an identity, and they seem to have found it. I can see them winning a playoff round depending on who they would get. I'm more concerned about if this is actually the true team that we're watching or if it's just a burst and they run into some tough squads in the next couple weeks. And then even if they're on a roll, they hit the Olympic break and then you have to come back. And Austin Matthews, after playing there, will play an extra 4, 5, 6 games and have to continue the magic when he comes back. Um,
yeah,
yeah, I'm being a little pessimistic about it, but I just don't have a reason to believe that they've turned a corner unless they do it for a couple more games here.
yeah.
yeah,
No, I mean, and the thing about the East too is there's been as good as the Eastern Conference has been this year, which is actually better than probably anybody expected.
Yeah.
Most of the teams, maybe not all of them, but most of the teams have had similar lulls to what the
yeah.
Leafs
It
have had, where
stretches.
it's
Yeah,
been
yeah,
inconsistent. Maybe it's not as many or as long as what the Leafs have dealt with this through the first half. But if you're telling me that like, the next 40 games, who's going to have a better record? Is it going to be Toronto or Pittsburgh? Is it going to be Toronto or Philadelphia? Is it going to be Toronto or Justin bought up Detroit or, like
Yeah.
go
I
through
think
kind of the East.
Detroit's gonna make it though.
And they
I
very well
do.
could. Like that's exactly my point is like we're still kind of finding out, it feels like, who a lot of these teams are. It's just been a longer process than in years past where it's like, oh, American Thanksgiving, we know who most of these teams are.
Yeah,
Now it's just been extended to, for whatever reason, it seems like it's gonna be the
worse
Olympic break. It's like, wow, like we're gonna have to go that far to see who the real contenders are in the conference.
because we're starting to see some teams separate themselves a little bit, like a
Absolutely.
little bit, not like a massive, but like Columbus, I would say, is going to be a seller this year. Like I think that
Yeah.
they are officially like the one team that I would eliminate from the
Yeah.
Eastern Conference right now. Now I'm going to go on a run here in the next week and flip everything around, but
Yeah.
they're the one team that I would say right now is a definite seller, and then in the West, you have some more definite sellers. But yeah, like you said, this trade freeze, I don't think people realize goes until like I think it's February 20th or February 22nd. Um, which only gives teams like 2 weeks and a half until the trade deadline, which is not a lot of time. Like it seems like a lot of time, but not like a lot of time where like you can't really do anything with your roster for 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
And then it's go time in terms of trades. And it's gonna be crazy. So yeah, it's kind of crazy, like Brandon said. But yeah,
There you go.
what I was just gonna say, do we want to touch on before we wrap up? Do we want to touch on the Jays? Like, cause
We can, if you guys have ideas of landing spots for maybe the two biggest free agents right now. Like we've heard Bo Bichette is apparently meeting with Philly tomorrow, looking for or eyeing over $300 million on his next contract.
is that what it said?
And well, that's the most recent look that I've seen. I
Yeah, I
just
think
saw this
Heyman.
pop up.
I think Heyman
Oh
put
my
that up. Yeah.
gosh.
Eyeing
What's he
$300
want?
million deal.
14 years? Like he's not getting that over a 7-year deal. Like he's
I
not
don't
getting
know,
$300
man.
million. Like it's just not unless he
This-
goes to the Rockies and says, "Yeah, boys,
Can you
pay me,
imagine?
pay me,
You
just
know,
pay."
and his market seemingly from certain sources is drying up, at least from a shortstop perspective. Maybe we're already looking for him. And like, I don't know, man. It's hard to follow everything that's going on, but him and Tucker
Yeah,
still have not found homes. Like, do you guys have thoughts as to where they might land and if Toronto is actually going to be the final destination for either of them here?
I think Toronto will be the final destination for one of them.
Yes.
Do I know which one it's going to be? No. Um, I have a feeling that if Toronto does not sign Kyle Tucker, I feel like Kyle Tucker will be a New York Met. That's
Mm.
just my gut feel. Um, they've done nothing this offseason, in terms of massive moves, and I feel like that is a market that is under a lot of pressure to go and get something done, and I feel like if it comes down to it, the Mets are gonna match whatever offer comes available, and it's just gonna come down to whether or not Kyle Tucker wants to go there.
I mean, I kind of agree, Justin. I think especially the Tucker part is a little bit not necessarily easier to see, but I think with the Mets, you pair him with a guy like Juan Soto, especially losing Pete Alonso, and you can kind of see them thinking that they might be able to get back on track. I think
Yeah.
the point about the market drying up is a really important one because I think the Mets, after what happened with Soto and then you know paying so much money, I think for him, where maybe not to say they didn't have to, but it felt like they were just eager to kind of set the market. I think this time they're maybe taking just more of a relaxed approach. It seems like the Yankees and the Dodgers have been doing a similar thing, but obviously the way the Jays have been so aggressive, it's hard to really count them out of anything. So I think Tucker is more likely probably to go to the Mets. I'm conflicted on Bo. I have absolutely no real like idea where he could go. Philadelphia would probably be actually a very good spot for someone like Bo Bichette, but I
He's
can't
playing
help but
second if he
just
goes there, though.
sorry?
He's 100% playing second if he goes there.
Yeah, no doubt, of course. But I think that he would just fit in so well in that lineup. That's
Yeah.
was more my point. But I just have such a conflict where I just want Bo Bichette back on the Blue Jays so bad.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I my hope is that they can still find a way to get it done with him. Based on these reports and the way that this offseason's gone, it just is seeming more and more unlikely that happens. But if they are able to swing for the fence and get a Kyle Tucker, I'll
Who
be
would you
more than
rather?
happy. I'd rather have Bo. It doesn't even matter at
Really?
this point
I think
about I'm not even
Tucker's the better
talking about,
player.
like that's what I was gonna say, I'm not even talking about the better player. The narrative going into this season, if you were to bring Bo back, if you were to kind of run it back with almost the same lineup, you add a couple pieces that make the team look more impressive than it was going into the start of the year. I just think it would be so much fun. It would be the best thing for, like, the organization, the fans, the city, everything like that.
Yeah.
But if they get Tucker, like I said, if they get Tucker and Bo has to leave or Bo has to go somewhere else, like so be it. I mean, you're still getting a
Sorry.
fantastic player, like you said, Justin, probably a better player, and you're giving yourself just as much a chance to compete in the American League. So it will be no hard feelings if that happens, but it will hit a little sweeter if it's Bo and not Tucker.
Okay.
Yeah. I would
I
agree.
have a little bit more excitement for Tucker, and I think it's just the new shiny thing, right? Like I I I don't know if I'm surprised that the signings haven't come down, at least one of them yet. It feels like, him and Cody Bellinger too are sort of like zigzagging and who wants to really set the market, and one is maybe waiting for the other. And there's conversations going around with different teams, but this seemed to be happening in past years. There always is one guy that sort of stalls the market, and this is why we're at the point that we're at. I think I see how exciting and the ceiling for Kyle Tucker, I feel like, is higher than it would be for Bo Bichette. And then that's why I'm like, well, how exciting is it to have a new piece? We re-signed Vladdy last year, the Jays did, and that was the piece you wanted to stick around. Now you brought in the Santanders of the world last year. You re-signed Kirk, but like, is there a big new splash? We got Dylan Cease. That's the big new splash, but that was on the
Yeah, it's
pitching end.
crazy.
On the offense, and now it's like you forget that even happened almost, because we're at that point this year with sports. But and the sports calendar, everyone forgets things really quickly. But I think Kyle Tucker would be that new shiny object that the Jays would be really looking for. But the
Yeah,
nostalgia factor is very real, Brandon. I'm with you on that, where it would mean
I
more, I think,
understand
for the
it.
team. And it also shows that, like, I guess the Jays have sort of broken the mold of like no one ever wants to sign here. Like, it's very clear that winning changes literally everything. But if you can get the guys to re-sign back here, I think it means a lot more to be like the people that are here want to stay here. And that means a little bit more in the long run as well. So I can go back and forth. I still think I would pick Tucker, but I see your point, Brandon, at being nostalgic and meaning more to the group at large, I think.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's
I don't
fair.
know, man.
That's fair. I
It'll
understand
be,
where you guys
yeah.
are coming from. I this they need to put a clock on these guys. That's all I have to say. Like
It does
they gotta
feel.
soon like say like, hey boys, you gotta
I mean,
sign here by a certain date.
this could go like this could go to March. Like this is not out of the
Sure.
question. Like it's not like
I
they
know.
haven't.
This is
You don't
what
have
this
to
is.
sign anything. Like, but it feels like the longer you wait, the more likely that the numbers come down, not go up. So
Yeah,
it's
I
just
would
like
assume so. I
maybe
would
the market.
assume that someone is going to take an Alex Bregman type deal from last year. That's what's going to happen first.
Honestly, I think that person might. I think Tucker is more likely to do that than I think Bo is. But
Yeah, I think so. I
I
think
could see it
I
happen. I
think
could
Bo
totally see it
needs
happening. I think Bo wants the
Bo
he's
wants
gonna
the
try to get
money.
as much as he
He's
wants, as much as
because
he can. Yeah.
he's not like if he comes out of this and then his defensive metrics get even worse.
Yeah, I don't think he wants to go into the
I don't think he wants
offseason
to.
next year as a free agent.
No.
Yeah, I think this is like your big ticket deal. Go get $200+ million, hopefully over 10 years, maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's why I think it's been so hard to figure out where Bo's going, because I think they've been kind of open to anyone who's willing to talk to them. Like that's kind of the way that I've been viewing it, is like, hey, if you've got money and you're interested in Bo coming to your city and playing for your team, just let us know. We can work on it. Like, we want to get something done.
Yeah.
It just feels like that's the way it's going.
Yeah, I don't think Bo liked the offer he got from the Blue Jays, but I think it's going to come back to, hey, we got to circle back and see if we can work something out here because that market's drying up.
Would love that.
Yeah, it's the year of circling. It's the time to circle back with the beginning of the year. Like everyone's like, oh, CC you per my last email, like prior to the Christmas break. So this is the circle back season.
Well, and it's like Vladdy too. Like Vladdy, they've kind of blew by Vladdy's deadlines, and then next thing you know, they got him done. Like there's no reason they can't kind of come back to the table at some point and say, hey, let's try to do it. So
I think someone will be signed by the next pod. Like if we were to jump back on next Thursday, I think one of these guys or Cody Bellinger, I think someone puts pen to paper. It just feels like.
What about Bregman? Do you think he goes first?
It's not as exciting, so maybe. To me, I just like it doesn't have the same juice or the same star power if you were to sign. It's possible, but sure, let's throw him in there. I think someone signs in the next week.
One of this player group signs by the next week. Yeah.
Yeah, the position guys. So
or the position, players.
We'll see.
It's going to be very interesting. Slow burn, baby. Slow burn.
There's a lot of other stuff to keep us occupied in the meantime. If the sports world was in shambles and we were waiting for one of these guys to sign, it would be a struggle. But I think we're not strive for content. So I think that's a great sort of place to leave it. Still a lot of stuff that we didn't cover that we can even touch on next week if things change. But excited to be back, boys. It's a first part of the year. We're excited for everyone who listens. First part of the year. We'll keep things rolling. Other than that, thanks for listening. Enjoy Wildcard Weekend, and we'll chat with you next week.